Good evening, everybody. My name's Gordon Tilstone. I'll be chairing tonight's event. This is the third in the Rochdale Hustings series. Tonight we're focusing on the Smallbridge and Firgrove ward and its candidates. There are a total of 7 candidates standing for the election in Smallbridge and Firgrove, all of which have been invited tonight, of which representatives of 2 parties. We have one from and then they will have a minute and a half to answer a series of questions put forward by local residents. Sorry, you'll notice that the Eileen Taylor's photograph is not up there. She's having some difficulties getting online, so we're just using she's using her phone just to get on the call here, so that's why you can't see her picture, unfortunately, so apologies for that. Like I said, each candidate will introduce, and they'll have a minute and a half to answer each question. And at the end of the night's session, they will have a further minute to sum up. So let's get going tonight, and let's start with Eleanor Kelly from the Liberal Democrats, please. Eleanor.
Hiya, so my name's Eleanor. I'm 23. I was born at Birch Hill and I went to Moorhouse Primary School before Hollingworth High. I did a business administration apprenticeship and I worked in admin for a bit and pulled pints at the Crown and Shuttle on the side. But at the moment, I'm not working. I went back to school to study for my law degree. In my spare time, I volunteer at the legal charity Support Through Court. And I also chair the youth branch of the Lib Dems. So I'm really interested in policy that affects young people. And I'm standing for council because I've been involved in community campaigns for quite a few years now. I've been doing things like litter picks and bus petitions, and I was involved in the sort of Parking Eye battle, the company that were illegally fining people to park around the back of Milner Precinct last year. And the Lib Dem team managed to get all those fines rescinded. But there's only so much that you can do as a campaigner, which is why I want to be one of your next councillors.
Thank you very much, Eleanor. So next we're going in alphabetical of surname order. So we're going to Dean Larder, also of the Liberal Democrats. Dean, over to you.
Hello, yeah, my name's Dean Larder. I've lived in the ward for 48 years. I work as a gardening teacher and I provide qualifications to adults so that they can gain employment in the gardening industry. I've always been involved in the community, from helping to raise money for local charities to helping the community organise litter picks. I'm recently developing a community-led garden in Firgrove. I feel that Smallbridge, Belfield and Firgrove have been left behind in Rochdale, and years of underinvestment have taken their toll. I'm a big believer in getting communities involved in the problems in their areas. I'm working in conjunction with the council and the police to prevent dangerous driving occurring on our streets daily, preventing fly tipping and reducing antisocial behaviour.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean. And lastly, at the moment, we're hoping to get Latifa Hussein later on in the call, but he's only just arrived home from work, so hopefully we'll get him later on. But in the meantime, I'll go over to Eileen Taylor for the Conservative Party. Eileen.
My name is Eileen Taylor, born and bred in Smallbridge. I'm 63-year-old. Now semi-retired. I do more voluntary work than anything. Been involved with the community from a very early age, doing WRVS cafe at Birch Hill. I ran a youth club for over 10 years at the Wardle and Smallbridge Community Centre. And before retiring, I was a lollipop lady within the Wardle and Smallbridge area. My main thing that I do now is care for my husband and a neighbour who has Alzheimer's, and volunteer with Rochdale Lions, raising money for the community. Wherever there's somebody who needs something, they come to Rochdale Lions and we provide it with a bit of luck. I think that's all I can say about myself. Sorry about that.
Okay, Eileen, thank you very much. If you could just mute yourself for a second again, thank you. Okay, so we come on to the questions now, and the first question is about affordable housing, which also includes social housing. So here it is. House prices in the ward are beyond many people, particularly young families. How would you encourage and support decision making with regards to social and affordable housing availability? And if I could go to one of the two Liberal Democrat candidates first, that will be Eleanor. I can see you putting your hand up for that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. You're right. I think there's no secret that we're in a housing crisis at the moment. I think there was a statistic that I saw that the average house price in Rochdale went up by something ridiculous, like 30 grand last year. We were the third highest increase in the country. And if you're my age, that forecast looks pretty grim. It feels increasingly unlikely that you're going to get on the housing ladder independently. You know, those house prices continue to rise relative to wages. It's in our party policy that we want to have a really ambitious housing target. Nationally, we want to build 380,000 houses a year, roughly half of which we believe should be available at social rent. And obviously, Rochdale needs its fair share of that. It's all well and good, you know, to build these big plush 5-bedroom houses to attract people into the borough, but that cannot come at the expense of people who need affordable housing. And I mean genuinely affordable housing. That word's bandied about quite a lot, but it actually means only about 80% of the market level. And I think there's something like 8,000 people on RBH's housing list alone, and we need workable, real solutions to make sure that they have a place to live. So one thing that our group leader has done recently is set up a meeting with RBH to make sure that anyone who gets in on this round of local elections from the Liberal Democrats can sit down, have a meeting and kind of hit the ground running and be around that table for those conversations, because we need to make sure that we're working with RBH rather than, it sometimes feels like the council can be a little bit at loggerheads with them. So yeah, I've got a pretty personal vested interest in making sure that there's affordable housing in Rochdale. You know, one day I might want to raise a family here. So got a personal interest, and I think it's about positive communication with not just RBH, but other local housing providers. And, you know, when we have these big developers coming in, really, you know, holding their feet to the coals and making sure that they're providing the social housing when they say they will, which doesn't always happen. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Eleanor. Okay, and now Eileen, if you would like to answer that on behalf of yourself and the Conservative Party.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are in a situation that we need affordable housing and social housing. There's a lot of young people that will never be able to afford these houses, and they don't make them big enough for them. They're all going big, unfortunately. But we've also got the same problem. We've got elderly people in big council houses that won't budge because they haven't got the sheltered accommodation or bungalows within the area that they want to live. And I think that is our problem. They want to, all these private housing are wanting to build big housing, but they're not thinking of the elderly people in the borough that need bungalows or sheltered accommodation. That hasn't been rectified for a long, long time. And unfortunately, that's where I feel we should be looking at. And I think we should be putting some pressure on these builders to go on the on the brownfield rather than greenfield. We've got a lot of land there that could be used rather than keep developing jobs for people to come into the town. We also need that housing, you know, unfortunately.
Okay.
We need, yes, okay.
Sorry, Eleanor, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. If you had a little bit
It's
more
all right.
to say. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're all right, thank you.
Thanks for that, Eleanor. So we'll move on to our next question now, and this is about antisocial behaviour and policing. So people are concerned about crime in the area, be it antisocial behaviour, car crimes or fly tipping. How will you make sure residents feel safe, and what are your priorities? if I could go to you first, Eileen, on this one.
I think I would be able to get more policing or our PCSOs within the community. We're very short on that, and I know a lot of that is down to volunteers, but we also blame young uns all the time. It's not always young uns that are antisocial. We have that mid-20s that are out on scooters and what have you. I'd like to think that people could approach me and I could get registrations and do a spot check, being road safety minded as well. That would be one of my principal things that I would definitely try and get sorted. We need to find somewhere for the young uns to be able to go that feel safe so they won't be on the street causing nuisance to neighbourhoods. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Eileen. I'm presuming that you, Dean, will come in on this question for the Liberal Democrats. Is that okay?
Right. So historically, we all know as residents of the area that we have a very underfunded Greater Manchester Police, a police force that is still in special measures, has the least number of frontline officers in the country as a force, and those are problems in the background for what the problems that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Basically, we've all seen the increase in antisocial behaviour. And I'd like to say also the dangerous driving that does occur on our streets every single day of the year. And basically, it's a miracle more people haven't been killed. I think that we need to be holding the police to account at local meetings. I know that COVID has interrupted that, but we need to look at ways that investment can be found for traffic police as well to try and reduce the problems. These problems are not going away. They will continue as long as they are allowed to be continued. And there's all the other problems that go with that. So I do totally agree that young people have nowhere to go. And recently we've witnessed this with the Metrolink, where young people are travelling up and down on the Metrolink all day or in the evening, and basically causing problems and threatening people. And again, we need to work with the transport police to work on ways to solve this. I also agree that, with the CCTV ideas, even the mobile ones, to try and reduce fly tipping, which seems to happen in the same areas all the time. One particular problem area is Belfield Lane, where they've got a lot of problems with fly tipping. I think that working with the communities, again, getting things reported quickly and removed is also important, and education as well in finding other ways that we can, reduce this fly tipping use of the bulky waste services. And I think that will help.
Right, Dean, I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you off there. We're sort of going over time with you, I'm afraid. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. But if I could just introduce to the screen Latifat Hussain on for the Liberal Democrats. Hello there. Can you hear us?
My apologies for being late. Just been stuck in traffic, to be honest with you.
That's all right. If we could, we've given the other people on the call a chance to introduce themselves for a minute. So if you'd like to do that yourself right now, and then we'll move on to the next question.
No problem. My name's Latifat Hussain. I'm born and bred in Rochdale. I've studied in Rochdale at Fairlinge Park High School. I went to college at Hotwood Hall College, studied engineering, and did postgraduate at Sheffield Harlem. I'm married with 3 kids. I work just inshore, doing warehouse work. I'm a team leader there. I've been there for just over 20 years. I've come into politics, got into politics not too long ago, mainly because sort of, being disheartened by the politicians we have in place at the moment locally, not really doing much for the community and not really being there for the community. So that's why I've really sort of got myself stood up for Smallbridge and Firgrove, and hopefully, try making a difference in people's lives and sort of be there.
Right, thanks for that, Latifah. I'm going to have to stop you there. That's your sort of minute up, really. I'm going to move on to the next question now, and that's about congestion and transport. So there's a plan to put a new rail station where the rail line crosses Albert Royd Street on its way up to Leeds via Smallbridge. Do you think this will help the local community, or would another type of public transport be better? I'll put that part of the question first of all to, let's have a see, who wants to answer that for the Liberal Democrats, please? So Dean, okay.
I don't think anyone can disagree with the offer to invest in a community, to invest in a railway line, to invest in a station. I think, however, that looking at the proposals from Network Rail, Network Rail spending is now up to 2030. It's already in place. So any plans for a new railway station will be beyond that date, and that's in 8 years' time. So if you go through all the planning and everything else, that's something that may happen in 2034, 2035. And I'm afraid that we've got a lot more problems right now in 2022. I think that I think we've got a great tram network. I think we've got great stations in Smallbridge and in Littleborough and in Rochdale, and we've got access to those. I think that the bus services perhaps are where the where the funding is missing. If you look at most areas in the ward and site in Smallbridge and Belfield and Firgrove, they've only got a bus every hour, and I've talked to residents who say that they're lucky if that bus turns up. It could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours. If you've got a doctor's appointment, then you need to get to the doctors, and if the bus is the only thing that you're relying on and that you can get on because of limited mobility, for instance, then you are really struggling. So I think investment in bus services, even if they don't make money, is a vital part of a community. And I don't think that that station is the highest priority we've got.
Okay, thanks for that, Dean. If I could move over to Eileen on this one, please, now, for the Conservative Party.
I do believe that we need to invest, especially with a proper, good service, rail and bus service, because neither are very appropriate for the Firgrove and Smallbridge. Definitely not. But I speak to elderly people that have been stood at the bus stop for like an hour because the bus can just go off, and they have no question of it. And now the taxi fares has gone so pricey, they're being forced to miss appointments due to the lack of the good service. Rochdale used to have a brilliant bus service. Unfortunately, we haven't got it now. With the rail service, unfortunately, that is another thing. It's a miss when you have it. We don't have a regular time of stopping at Smallbridge. Extra train stop for Smallbridge would be ideal. You know, I believe in the people of Smallbridge are badly affected by a lack of service when it comes to the public transport. One bus an hour going to Morrison's or Castleton is ridiculous. They want us to use the public transport, but they're not giving the good service that we need.
Okay, thanks for that, Eileen. I'll just come to the second part of that same question, talking about congestion and transport. And I'll come back to you on this one, Eileen, first of all. So do you support the clean air zone proposal? And if not, how would you tackle air pollution?
Problem with that is we've got white van men, that small business holders, they can't afford to keep paying to go into Manchester because they can't afford to change the vans, because everything has gone up. The cost of living has gone up so much, I believe in the clean air, but unfortunately, they've gone about it in the wrong way, because we're hitting the people that are bringing the business in, and we can't do it. We should be encouraging people to use public service. Yeah, if it was more reliable, then they probably would do it.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Eileen. Perhaps Latifat, you'd like to answer that one on the clean air zone?
Yeah, regarding the clean air zone, I mean, I'm not fundamentally against it, but I think I've been reading the way trying to implement it, because when they put in a radius of like 15 miles from Manchester town city centre, I think we've got big problems there. You know, especially little towns like ourselves, we definitely do not need them charges coming in, because we've already got people living on the breadline, and they're the ones that are going to be most affected. And as Eileen said, you know, the cost of living, petrol, diesel, everything up, and if we're going to squeeze, you know, the ordinary hardworking people, who, you know, where's that going to lead us to? So, you know, we need to sort of rethink that totally, and trying to force people to, you know, buy electric. At the moment, electrics, I think, is not cheap. I know myself, obviously, I know quite a few drivers, they worried about it themselves in the taxi trade. Council has proposed, you know, introducing some sort of funding, but when you're asking someone to invest £50,000 worth of motor, and especially, you know, Manchester and Rochdale.
Okay, if I could just ask you to sort of finish up there, because we're just struggling for time now.
There's a big difference between people working in Manchester. Obviously, their turnover and the money they make, you can't really compare it to smaller towns like ourselves. So I think we got to go about it in a different manner.
Latifat, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm afraid I'll have to just finish up there. So we're going to move on. All right. So I'll come to the next question now. So this is about education. So parents' choices of a particular local school for their child is not always possible in this ward. How would you ensure that every child in Smallbridge and Firgrove has a school place within walking distance of their home? And if I could come back to Eileen on that one first, please.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we've got plenty of infant schools and junior schools in the Smallbridge and Firgrove area. The unfortunate part is we haven't got an high school. We've got Wardle, but it takes people from out of our area as far as Whitworth and Milnrow. We need another high school. We desperately need another high school to cope with the growing number of houses being built that are family orientated. We need another high school desperately. We have to allow for children, but the unfortunate part is children going out of their area to go to school is a no-no for me. I wouldn't like it myself, because we should be able to accommodate every child within their area for a school, especially a high school place.
Okay, thanks for that, Eileen. Now, who'd like to go on this one so that'll be, I can see Eleanor's hand up straight away there. So over to you, Eleanor, for that question.
Thank you, Gordon. So in my last answer, I said, you know, I'm very pro housing, and I'm obviously very pro, you know, the additional services that go with that. That includes schools. I believe there are plans for a new high school in Littleborough, which I'm very supportive of. in kind of that area. It's not too far away. And obviously I'm very pro children being able to walk safely to school where they can. Realistically, walking isn't going to be an option for everybody, you know, especially when you take into account, you know, if you want to send your child to a faith school, or, you know, you just want to go to the same school as your big brother like I did. So I think we need to be looking at, you know, clean, green transport options there. I love the idea of things like walking buses. Again, it's coming up, you know, actual buses, making sure they're properly serviced and regular. Even things like cycling schemes, you know, thinking outside the box a little bit. Because at the end of the day, if you're building new schools, you know, neighbours always dread that gridlock at pick-up time, and emissions are terrible, not only for, you know, the planet, but also children's health and things like asthma. So yeah, being supportive of building those things like high school in Littleborough, but also thinking outside the box when we need different transport solutions as well.
Okay, thanks very much for that. So we'll move on to the next question now, if we can. So that's about the local economy and services. So what do you think the local community most needs from the council? Who would like to answer that from the Liberal Democrats, please? Latifah's hand up.
I'll go for that one. Yeah. So basically, I think obviously we need to help our local traders, and I think the biggest way we could do that is by cutting, you know, or giving some sort of relief on the rents and rates we charge as a council. I know quite a few successful businesses within the town, like the Bomb, just outside the town centre. The previous owner actually sold up because he was claiming the rates were too high, you know, set by the council. And for the Bomb, very successful business, stuff like that. We shouldn't be putting our local successful businesses for we should be encouraging and helping them more. So I think that's definitely a way of, especially after the pandemic, the service industry and so on, you know, the nightlife industry, you know, has been hit. We need to do more to really help them. Obviously, you know, just the local markets. We used to have a cracking market in Rochdale town centre, but I mean they're pretty much non-existent now. I know they'll be up there on the boats, but it's not talking to the traders. It's not the same. You know, when they were indoor and they were away from the elements, people used to enjoy shopping there and everything. But they've not really proper placement since they've been shipped out from previous places. So we definitely need to.
Okay, that's that. If I can just ask you to wrap up there, and I'll move on to Eileen for the Conservative Party on that one, please, Eileen.
Yeah, I do believe, as the gentleman just said, about local traders, the rates were set for shops and the amenities in London, and we are not there. We don't have that money. Our local traders are going out of business because the rates being so high. We do need to support them. We had a brilliant market, and unfortunately it was closed and moved, which we should be talking about elderly people trying to get to these stalls and these shops. They can't get to them. So they built a new shopping precinct. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. But are they for our residents of all ages? Not necessarily, unfortunately. But I think we should be thinking of some sort of relief for the traders to be able to expand if possible and do that way. As regard of services, I'd like to see something within the area, within Smallbridge and Firgrove, that the teenagers that we have some problems with be able to go some youth club that isn't run as strictly as schools. They need to be able to go somewhere that they can enjoy each other's company and be safe. And I think we need to try and do something in the area to support local traders as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Eileen. We lost you there, Latifat, for a minute, but I can see you back on now, so that's good. Okay, thanks very much. We'll move on to the next question, which is about the environment. So I've just got a bit of a statement to make before we get the questions. Although the council has declared a climate emergency, they've continued to progress the Places for Everyone plan. This will take away Greenbelt, which is not only has been a lifesaver during COVID, but is also part of the character of the area. So the question is, will you encourage and support decision making with regards to the environment? And secondly, do you think that the Greenbelt should be built on? So if I could come back to you, Eileen, on that one first, if you don't mind.
I don't think we should be building on Greenbelt. Our area is known for being able to walk within a nice surroundings, and we keep building on these places. We're also been building recently on what was, in my youth, a floodplain. You know, now we're building on it, we're going to have that problem. You know, so we're spending millions in Littleborough to get a new bridge and all this lot. But we have to be thinking there is brown area that can be used. So why are we not using that? The brownfields need to be used as much as all these greenbelt. I don't think we should be using greenbelt. That is part of our heritage. Smallbridge and Firgrove have got playing fields. Let's keep them as playing fields.
Okay, thanks for that, Eileen. Thank you very much. And for the Liberal Democrats, who would like to answer that question? So I can see Dean's hand up. So
yeah, I'd broadly agree with what Eileen said there. We oppose building on Greenbelt land rather. We do need to explore and build on all brownfield sites before we build anywhere else. I would like to say that the area has not got the infrastructure for further houses. This will impact again on the environment due to more cars, more pollution on a daily basis. We should cherish the green spaces that we've got. And as you said, in COVID, we've had a lot of time to walk outdoors. We need investment in our parks and open spaces so we can continue to enjoy them. I think we need to reduce fly tipping and reduce littering, and this will help us to enjoy them open spaces. My involvement in Rochdale and Bloom has shown me that local people really want to get involved in the local community. And I think working in conjunction with the council, we can make the most out of our parks and open spaces for the future.
okay, thanks very much for that, Dean. That's very interesting. Okay, now moving on, this is going to be our last question. It's about integrity in local office. So if elected, will you be able to withstand the party pressures for and work for the greater good of the community? Now, this was initially a sort of yes/no answer, but I think we've got time for people to sort of give their opinions across the board. So why don't we go to Eleanor first on this one? I'll let each one of you say maybe a minute on this one. Thank you.
Yeah. I like to think that while I'm maybe not argumentative, I do like to debate my corner. I don't always necessarily completely agree with things that we say on the national level or as a group. And while I believe in democracy of the group and things like that, I'm always gonna, say what I believe and have that conversation. I think that's really, really important. And I hope that you've listened to me today and think that I'm, good enough to fight the corner for people in Smallbridge and Firgrove as well. So hopefully I've proved that to you.
Okay, thanks for that, Eleanor. If I come to you next, Latifat, just on that one.
Yeah, so I totally believe in integrity. I think you should always sort of say your piece and stick to your guns, because you should have constituents at heart at all times, and their welfare and their opinions, whether it's against party lines or not. And if it is, then so be it. But you should always put your constituents first at all times, and absolutely, integrity is a big thing, I think.
Okay, thanks for that, Latifa. If I come to you next, Eileen, on this one.
I'm not a follower. I will speak my mind, unfortunately, for some people. But I believe in fighting for what people want. So if people vote for me next Thursday, I will do my utmost to do what they want, not just follow the tone of the lines.
Okay, thanks for that, Eileen. And to you, Dean, as well on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that people should have different opinions within parties. And I think that anyone that knows me knows I have strong opinions on quite a number of issues. But I think more than anything, I think you have got to look after that community that you live in. You've got to understand what their issues are and how you change that. Because in effect, you're changing it, you're witnessing it, you're in that community, watching them things and the problems going on. So I think, yeah, I think it should be understood that you should be able to stand up for them problems, and solve those problems. Sometimes if that goes against, like say, national party lines.
Okay, thanks for that, Dean. So we'll now come to your sort of closing statements, each of you. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order on this one. So Latifat, if you'd like to go first, to give you a minute there just to sum up things and your own views and what you're going to do for the community.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've sort of come into politics hopefully to make a change and, represent the community and the constituents a lot better, because me myself, I've had some bad experiences with our local councillors. I don't really need to name any individuals or party, but and that's probably one of my main reasons I've sort of got into politics myself, because of being disheartened by our representatives at the time. So I think as a councillor, you should always sort of strive and work hard for the community, because that's why you've been elected and you're their representative, and you should always make representation for them, and hopefully that's what I intend to do.
Okay, thanks for that, Latifat. If I come to you next, Eleanor, please.
Yeah, as I said at the start, I've been campaigning and involved in local politics for a number of years now. Been doing litter picks, the petitions, all that jazz. There's only so much I can do as a campaigner, and I really want to be one of your next local councillors. We're in an all-up election this year. You've got 3 votes, and I think now is absolutely the time to look at the last 10 plus years and say that we need a change. I'm enthusiastic, and the one thing that I found from the last few years of campaigning is that I actually really enjoy talking to people and finding solutions to issues. So yeah, vote for Eleanor Kelly and vote for the Liberal Democrats.
Thanks for that, Eleanor. And if we go to next in alphabetical order, Dean, please.
Yeah, I got involved as a candidate for the Liberal Democrats because basically I didn't get emails answered for problems I had, and I think we deserve better than that. I think we need change in the area. We're left with a cost of living crisis at the moment, and the council tax keeps going up. I think people have access, have had difficulty accessing doctors and dentists, the things, the day-to-day things in life. And basically that's not good enough now. So what I would say is that if you vote for me, you'll get someone who will stand up for your communities, be a voice. I think we need councillors who are willing to stand up and get involved for and with their communities. So I hope you vote for the Liberal Democrats and myself on May the 6th.
Etc. Are you there, Eileen? I don't know if Eileen is on. Are you there, Eileen?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Just give it. Yes, I can. So if you could give us a minute
All right.
of just summing up about yourself and what you're going to do. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'd like to think that the people of Smallbridge and Firgrove know me well enough after being in the area for 60 plus years and working within the community for 40 plus years. They know me by now that I'm a person of my word. If they come to me, got a problem, I will do my utmost to serve them. That's what we're here for. We've been let down too many times by the local councillors within this ward at the moment. And I think it's time people could go and approach these councillors with prospects councillors at the moment to do what they say they will do. Vote for Eileen Taylor, Conservative.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Eileen. So that's
Thank
it
you.
for tonight. Just to be clear to everybody who maybe came in late on the meeting, we had some problems with Eileen getting online, so we've asked her to turn her camera off so that she could speak clearly through her mobile phone. So that's why you can't see an image of Eileen on screen. So apologies for that. But anyway, I really hope that you at home have found what you've heard tonight at the Hustings worthwhile. Can I now encourage you all to go and vote in next Thursday, and to urge your family and friends, wherever they are, to also go and vote in their local election. A recording of tonight's event will be posted on YouTube shortly if you need any reminders of the candidates' answers. Lastly, can I thank you, the 4 candidates who joined us tonight for participating in tonight's hustings. And I want to wish all 7 candidates that are standing in Smallbridge and Firgrove the best of luck in next Thursday's election. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for watching, and good evening.